Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host Owen James. Guys, we bring you some breaking Rangers news on the transfer front. Now, it had been reported heavily in a number of media outlets, and kind of, I don't know, even the club had kind of commented it, under when Niels Koppen was there, on a prospective deal for Paris Saint-Germain youth player Oumar Camara. Oumar Camara, obviously, is a guy who's come through the youth system in Paris. He is a Mali international, Mali youth international, hasn't obviously played any games for the full Mali team as of yet. And Rangers were heavily linked with a move for this highly rated youngster. This is a guy who apparently had interested even Manchester United and Arsenal both looked at this player. So it can't be that bad if Premier League clubs like Man United and Arsenal are looking at him. He's obviously only played youth football. It's not like he's a guy who's coming with first team experience. He's obviously not part of that all-conquering PSG team that have just won the Champions League. Although, you know what, you look at their team and you look at some of the youngsters, the younger players that have that participated in that game. Like Desiree Doué, for example, who obviously came for another Paris Saint-Germain youth prospect. Absolutely superb player. I mean, Doué looks an absolute player, doesn't he? Kamara is a guy who can play right wing. He can play left wing. So he's an out-and-out winger, basically. I think something we do actually need to look at the club, with obviously the departure of Václav Černý, with the gloriously inconsistent fitness of Oscar Cortés, with the possible departure of Ross McCausland to either Bâle, Leuven in Belgium, or even FC Cincinnati in America. I've got to say, Ross, don't go to Cincinnati, mate. Cincinnati is an absolute shit tip, mate. Do not go there. It is a fucking awful city, Cincinnati. Do not go there. Kamara is born in France. He's from Aubervilliers in France. He is French and Malian. Like I said, he's an attacking right winger. He's out of contract, so there would only be a compensation fee to pay for the player. This was a guy that Niels Koppen had spoken to, had obviously already targeted, and it looked like the deal was done to bring him to Rangers. That seemed to be everything that was on the cards. However, it now is being reported by a number of outlets in Scotland and in England and in France that this move is now off, that Rangers have ended their interest in Oumar Camara. Look, I think this is not really a surprise given the fact that Rangers obviously have changed owners. This was a move that was kind of incited before Andrew Kavanagh and the 49ers Enterprises took over. This was a move that was being put together under the previous board, with Niels Koppen, obviously. Obviously now the previous board have gone. Niels Koppen has gone. Dan Purdy is now head of recruitment and Kevin Thelwell is the sporting director. So it very much seems that these two have kind of come in. They've reviewed the processes. They've reviewed what is going on. They've no doubt looked at target list, they've looked at scouting reports, they've looked at prospective signings, they've kind of obviously looked at it all and gone, nah, not for us, not the sort of player, not the player we want to kind of bring in at this moment in time. It's the moves off, we don't want him. So I think this looks like it's the end of Oumar Camara to Rangers, which look, there's a positive and a negative to this. The positive obviously is that it's clear that the new owners and the new footballing department under Thelwell and Purdy clearly have a vision. No doubt speaking obviously with head coach Russell Martin about the future, about the types of player he wants to bring in, even the types of younger player that he wants to bring through. He spoke, didn't he, in his presser about developing academy players and developing the academy at Rangers. And look, I for one certainly hope that the likes of Finlay Curtis, Paul Ncio, Archie Stevens, Bailey Rice, get more game time next season. Mason Munn, I think, is another very very good goalkeeper. I rate Mason Munn better than Liam Kelly. These are guys who have got promising youngsters. They've got, I think, a lot to offer the club, and I think hopefully Martin will do what his predecessors have failed to do, which is actually promote youth and use youth in the team. But look, this is where we're at this moment in time. So the positive obviously is that they have their own vision, they have their own ideas, and they're obviously implementing that, and they're committed to implement that, and they're committed to move forward as they see best under Russell Martin, under Kevin Thelwell, with Dan Purdy obviously going out there and recruiting players. The negative obviously is that this kid was seen as being a very talented, very promising young player, who probably had something to contribute. And he probably he may well go on to sign for another club, another Premier League club, or somewhere else in Europe, and go on to have a very successful career. And look, I wish the kid all the best. I mean, I don't know a great deal about the kid, what sort of kid he is, but look, wish him all the best. Hope he has a very successful career. Unless he joins Celtic, of course, and I hope he's an absolute disaster. But look, or Manchester United, and I hope he's an absolute disaster as well. But he looked a player. But Rangers have ended their interest. It's over. Look, we move on. There's numerous targets out there. Tons of names been linked, and Tofolo, I'm not quite sure how you say his name. Wood, Downs, Matinho, Pizarro, Darling, Cody. There's so many names being linked at this moment in time, isn't there? So I'm sure things will obviously ramp up as well as we get through this transfer window and we get through the summer. And Rangers look to obviously build their playing squad back up again. There is obviously a lot of work to do. Get players out, get players in. A lot of players that we need to move out. A lot of players we need to obviously bring in to kind of up the level and up the standard within the squad, which, as we've seen last season, quite clearly is not good enough. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this story. Thanks for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. Guys, as always, if you like the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Catch you later, guys. We are the people.